Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Danielle Duclos, and I'm the Senior Vice President of Marketing for Bluefin. I wanted to thank you all for joining today's webinar, Bluefin's ACH Verification Service. Today's discussion will last approximately 35 to 40 minutes, with time allotted at the end to take questions. To ask a question, simply type into the question pane on the right-hand side of your screen. If there are questions that we are not able to answer due to time constraints, they will be addressed in a follow-on email to attendees. A copy of the presentation accompanying the session is available in the handout section of the webinar. And additionally, we are recording the webinar and it will be posted on our website tomorrow. We will send you a link when it has been posted so that you may share it with your colleagues. I am pleased to welcome today's presenters, which include myself, Morgan Gines, Bluefin's Vice President of Relationship Management and Inside Sales, and Ryan Cox, PayConex Product Manager. So let's get into the agenda today. So what are we going to be talking about? We're first going to do an overview of the basics of ACH and Nacha and what those two are. The rise in ACH transactions largely caused by the pandemic. Some of the challenges that merchants may experience today with the traditional ACH transaction flow. Then we're going to get into what this new Nacha web debit account validation rule is and how it applies to you. And then we're going to follow up with Bluefin's ACH verification service. We're going to talk about how it works, the SEC codes that are supported, enablement through PayConex, and some frequently asked questions. So, Morgan, I'm going to hand it over to you for an overview of ACH and Nacha.
Perfect. Thank you, Danielle. Good afternoon, everyone. I am pleased to present and discuss one of our most invaluable and recent product launches that helps our clients and partners adhere to the new Nacha mandate for ACH account validation. Just jumping in, what is ACH? ACH, the automated clearinghouse, is a network used for electronically moving money between bank accounts across the U.S. Nacha governs the thriving ACH network, the payment system that drives safe, smart, and fast direct deposits and direct payments with the capability to reach all U.S. banks and credit union accounts. Through problem solving and consensus building among diverse payment industry stakeholders, Nacha advances innovation in the payment system. So think of this in terms of direct deposits, the example here being your monthly payroll. If you're set up with that for your employer, that could be considered a direct deposit or a direct payment. This would be paying your monthly energy or water bill against your bank checking account. The main difference in each of these ACH types is where's money being pushed or pulled between the bank accounts. So as Danielle mentioned, the pandemic has changed almost every aspect of business, and ACH was no exception. It created an accelerated shift to electronic and digital payment methods. The growth rate in 2020 reached its highest it's been since 2017. It increased not just volume, but the valuation, $603 million in volume, and the value of that being $943 billion. You can find all sorts of statistics. We have links to several statistics that Nacha had published, but some of the trends that I want to focus on, one of the major trends that we see has been in same-day ACH. This has been a way to modernize some of the challenges previously experienced with ACH and the speed of funding. Same-day ACH volume, it's increased significantly to $460 billion. The mix of growth across the ACH network, it's not been limited to direct deposits. We've also seen healthcare, internet, and B2B segments attributed to collective 25% growth rate, driving 13.4 million in valuation. One example I like to share is related to our healthcare clients. The medical and dental practices and facilities, they're increasingly receiving healthcare claim payments electronically. So I think that this is something a lot of people can relate to that we've seen during the pandemic. And there were 426.3 million payments made by ACH in 2021. This is up almost 18% from 2019, the valuation of those being at $2 trillion. So the healthcare vertical has seen a significant growth in that specific use case. ACH usage, it's very dependent upon the underlying industry issuing the bills. ACH was used more than half of the time for government, utilities, and insurance bill payments. And the quick adoption shows that same-day ACH is also a significant contributor to meeting the nation's demand for faster and modern payments. So what are some of the challenges that we see with traditional ACH transaction flow? There's some that stick out and likely have a real world impact to you. So if your business processes ACH, you'll probably understand quickly these three I'm going to mention. ACH transactions not being processed in real time. If you process both ACH and credit card payments, you know that credit cards are processed in real time. You receive that authorization back from the network. So you do not have that benefit with ACH. The customer's bank does not provide an immediate response of payment approval or funds collected. And transactions are updated after there's a successful or declined transaction. So it makes it very difficult to accurately predict your cash flow and your funding, which further provides challenges with reconciliation on both a daily and a monthly cycle. And this leads really well into the next topic that I want to discuss with the problem of ACH. So I mentioned funding. We all want to know how we can do faster payments and ultimately get paid faster. So this, in my mind, is the biggest one that impacts all of our big businesses, regardless of vertical, that everyone can relate to with delayed funding. So next day funding is just now becoming a reality for ACH transactions, but the speed of funding is a challenge both in revenue recognition and daily or monthly reconciliation. Default ACH transactions, they can take multiple days to process. So even same day ACH isn't truly same day. It can leave parties with difficult decisions about whether to allow withdrawals. Do they go ahead and ship the products? Do they honor the service contracts in the intervening time? With the slow processing, that comes confusing balances, where consumers forget about a pending debit. They end up with an overdraft or an NSF. And then there's also a higher rate of returns and associated return fees. So because ACH transactions aren't settled directly, that meaning that in no point do any two banks are not exchanging a stack of money, right? The ACH network, it keeps a tally of netted settled payments for each transaction window. The banks involved jointly ask the Federal Reserve after each window to credit or debit their respective accounts accordingly. So the system really works on a no news is good news basis, where the absence of a return code, that's the closest thing that you will receive of a confirmed payment. So consumers have 60 days to report an unauthorized transaction. It can create binding reversals. And then also with that comes a higher risk of fraud at play. And as parties won't know for days or hours if a debit transaction is cleared, fraudsters historically have taken advantage. This risk has hindered ACH's adoption for single transaction use cases, and it's forced retail banks to place limits on how much consumers can transfer via ACH and on how fast those funds can clear. So what did Nacha do about this? I think that we're all very pleased at Bluefin and our clients as well with Nacha's response, and the response being their web debit account validation rule. So Nacha's made great strides in advancing and modernizing ACH payments with their formal response to fraudulent activity with this rule. This rule was announced around 1 year ago and put actually into effect March 19th of this year with a 1-year grace period. It requires payment originators validate ACH accounts the first time they're used on a going forward basis only. I think that's important to call out. So there's not any concerns with previous transactions that occurred before this date. Previous to this rule, there was no validation requirement from the ACH network that a bank account was open, closed, miskeyed into the system, or a validation of funds. This mandate requires that payment originators validate ACH accounts the first time they're used in a commercially reasonable fraudulent transaction system. So what this really means, Ryan's going to dig deeper into that for us. And so with that, Ryan, take it away.
Yeah, sure. So when we were taking a look at developing this feature set, we wanted to make sure we provided a holistic solution to our PayConex merchants. We wanted to make sure that you could utilize the ACH verification service through various different avenues. If you're using the PayConex hosted payment forms or the PayConex API, we wanted to make sure that our merchants were able to run this account verification no matter how you were using PayConex. We partnered with MicroBilt. They're a Nacha preferred partner, and in the classification of commercially reasonable verification services. So we took a look at their offering and found that it would work best with our implementation. And our integration to their service really means that you can utilize this via PayConex directly, and you won't need to manually integrate or negotiate with a third-party verification provider on your own. We can really tackle that at the PayConex level instead of having to do manual work to verify these outside of PayConex before sending them over to us. And that's one of the main benefits. I'll let Morgan talk more about some of the other benefits on the next slide here.
Yeah, absolutely, happy to. And these 4 benefits, I think, really provide an excellent summary of the value add that our product brings to adhere to the mandate. Number 1, it's going to maximize revenue and the rule compliance. So everyone wants to follow the rules. You don't want penalties, and we want to play by the rules. Certainly, it makes the most sense to operate your business that way. So how do you do that and also maximize your revenue? And that's what we're trying to accomplish with this product. Validating ACH transactions, it's going to increase your approvals and the dollars in your bank account, increasing your overall revenue. You're also going to avoid the non-compliance fees and the costs associated due to late returns. Seamless reporting. So going back to the daily and monthly reconciliation, we know that reconciliation is critical to all of our clients to be able to reconcile those payments back to what was actually received on their bank statement. So the ACH verification message, it's included in the PayConex transaction details. So you have flexibility. You can have insight on a single transaction, or you can have custom reporting for transparent reconciliation across day, month, whatever customized time frame you want to build out. The setup being very simple. Once Bluefin enables a PayConex account for ACH verification, you simply select the SEC codes, which we'll get into on the next topic you would like to verify on your integration type. And then on the SEC codes, the rule specifically calls out web, but we support verification across all SEC code types, not just web. We want to ensure that the validation occurs across all of your ACH payment types. We really believe there's further value in increasing validation and revenue by checking that account regardless of how that transaction is submitted.
Yeah, and on this slide, sorry, I thought I was on mute. On this slide, I wanted to take a look at some of the challenges with ACH, the traditional ACH payment flow that Morgan had touched on earlier in the discussion. We don't have to walk through every single bubble here, but I just wanted to offer this as kind of a view into a normal ACH transaction as you would see it today, how it flows through. Typically, you would have a customer enter their ACH account information into a payment form of some sort. It could be a hosted payment form or a custom integration to PayConex that you're using through a software provider. After submitting that payment data from the customer browser or the software, that's going to then get passed to the PayConex API for processing. Currently, since it's not real time, as Morgan had touched on earlier, PayConex is going to send back a notification that this payment has been batched. It's going to be issued for processing, and the response is sent back to the software or the hosted payment form to tell the customer, yeah, this payment's going to process through, everything's going to be fine. And then out of band, that transaction is sent to the ACH processing network and updated as it's processed through the banks. So you'll see a status of issued or batched or pending, and then you'll get a update to that same transaction later that says declined, returned, or settled, funded, statuses of that nature, and that's going to live inside of your PayConex reporting currently. And the biggest pain point in the process is that 3 to 5 day window where the ACH processing network is doing its work to determine if the transaction can be funded. If there's an issue with the account, like it being closed or anything like that, that waiting period, there's an increased waiting period there where you're not sure if you need to contact your customer for a new payment method or something like that. And as Morgan had stated, that can result in lost revenue or any other, over providing your service where your customer wasn't able to pay or something like that. With the integration of MicroBilt, this flow changes quite a bit. It's especially on the PayConex side, right? The beginning steps are the same. A customer enters their ACH account information. It could be a host payment form, software, et cetera, as we had stated before. that payment data is submitted to the merchant and passed to the PayConex API for processing. When using our account verification service, PayConex actually will make determination based on the account routing number and first and last name provided in the transaction. PayConex will take a look at that in the database and say, has this account been verified before? If it hasn't been verified before, we will take that data and send it over to MicroBilt and get a decision from MicroBilt that says, is the ACH account valid? And if it's not, MicroBilt is going to return a recommendation to accept or reject the payment. If MicroBilt suggests to accept the payment, then that data is stored so we can take a look at it later on to determine if the account has been verified. And then a response is sent back to the merchant and customer saying this payment method is good, and we will continue processing it on the ACH network as normal. If it's rejected, then you'll get a real-time notification saying there's an issue with this ACH account, and the messaging will come from MicroBilt saying something like the routing number is invalid, or this account has been closed, or any other of the other messages that can come through in the event of a decline. In the rejection, you'll get that up front, which will eliminate that 3 to 5 day window where you were waiting to find out if that transaction was going to be funded, or if it was going to be declined, or if there was a problem with the account data as entered. Now, the other side of this is whenever a transaction comes to the PayConex API, if it has been previously verified, we'll take a look at your frequency, how often you wanted to make sure that these are considered first time, and if it falls into the window that you have set up, we will actually not send that to MicroBilt for another verification. The thought here is if you've already issued it for verification once and you know that the payment is good and you're coming back to use this account again, then you won't need to send it to MicroBilt. And while Nacha requires this service for merchants processing using the web SEC code, as Morgan had alluded to, we realize that some merchants might want to utilizing other set codes might want to take advantage of real-time verification. To accommodate those merchants, we allow our service to utilize a variety of set codes for verification, and I'll let Morgan talk more about that here.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. Perfect. So just to give everyone an overview and some examples of what these other codes represent. So first off, an SEC code is a 3-letter code that describes how payment was authorized by the consumer or business receiving an ACH transaction. So these codes are defined and maintained by Nacha, the governing body for the ACH network. So best practices, they include validating all accounts at least every 180 days to maintain accurate records. So a few examples would be if you accept IVR payments, this would be considered a telephone code, TEL. This transaction was initiated via the telephone. There's a voice recording involved. These payments are very popular among our utility and government industry. We support these types of payments as well. Another example that's also really popular would be for recurring ACH debit. If you have established monthly recurring bills to pay, whether it be a water bill, whether it be your dentist bill, if you had a root canal and you had 6 months of payments, that sounds painful, but nonetheless, we would support the validation of it. That would be considered PPD, the prearranged payment and deposit entry. So those are just a couple of real-time examples. And again, by supporting all SEC code types, we're looking to achieve maximizing revenue for our clients and ensuring validation occurs across all ACH transaction types. We wanted to give our clients and partners flexibility in their ACH transactions and be able to expand the value outside of just what the mandates accommodates. Another reason is because we have several clients and partners that support multiple. They don't just have one type, and this is common across all businesses. You typically don't only have IVR payments. You don't only have those that pay recurring. You're probably going to have a mix of 2 or 3, and so it makes sense for a lot of businesses to adopt this seamlessly across all of their SEC code types and have a holistic solution.
And that leads in to the next topic really well, Morgan, because when we're looking at enablement and specifically around the set codes, there are going to be multiple set codes that can be selected for verification. I'll touch on that here in a minute, but just to get started on enrollment, this will need to be enabled through one of your Bluefin account representatives. It's something that our administrators can set on your account to enable. And with that enablement, you can communicate to them how you would like to set your ACH account verification frequency. Currently, Nacha says that you have to validate accounts the first time that they're used. We went a step further and provided a number of options for this first time designation. So if you want to, you could set your verification frequency to every time. That every time indicator is, it basically says every time you run an ACH transaction, you want that to flow through MicroBilt for verification. And from there, we have settings for every 30 days all the way up to every 360 days. So in the scenario of every 360 days, if I walked into your shop today and used, or went to your website and used my ACH account data today, and it was verified through MicroBilt as valid and everything is fine, if you send that same account and routing number to PayConex again in that 360-day window, it won't get verified through MicroBilt again unless you explicitly tell us to through an API flag or something of that nature. So that's kind of how the verification frequency works. You can set it for every time, or you can set it for intervals to kind of reset that first time counter. The next option that I had discussed briefly when we started talking on this slide is the set codes to validate. Within the settings of PayConex, we have a list of set codes that you can select from that Morgan had discussed on that previous slide. So if you are a merchant and you're processing web transactions and telephone transactions, you can select to validate your telephone transactions right alongside your web transactions. Similarly, if you don't want to validate your telephone transactions for some reason, you can leave that set code off of the to validate setting, and those transactions won't be flowing through MicroBilt for the verification. So the next items are similar: ACH verification for recurring and ACH verification for reissues. Really, recurring transactions don't fall under the umbrella of the Nacha mandate. Typically, what happens with a PayConex scheduled recurring transaction is you've grabbed a token from an ACH payment previous and set up a recurring schedule. That token likely in this scenario will have been previously validated through MicroBilt or through previous payment if you have existing tokens or something of that nature. What we wanted to allow merchants the ability to do with this setting is to enable this setting for your recurring transactions. So by default, this won't be enabled for recurring transactions. But if you were a merchant that is running a high volume of recurring transactions and you want to try to prevent your recurring record from, sending a payment that is potentially problematic, and kind of stopping that at the beginning of the recurring process, rather than waiting that 3 to 5 days on the response from the ACH network, you can do that. And reissue transactions are similar to recurring. The big difference is that reissue transactions are typically when a merchant or software partner is managing recurring schedules within their own system. So you have a store of transaction tokens and you're just sending them to PayConex as reissues because you have a recurring schedule that doesn't quite fit with what PayConex offers or something of that nature. So we also wanted to create a setting to enable the verification checks for your reissue transactions as well. And then with that, Danielle, I think we're headed to the FAQ portion of the presentation.
Yep, excellent. So Morgan, you want to roll through these for us? And these are just some common FAQs that you may have, and then maybe in the question box. I haven't checked the question box yet, but just regarding who is this available to, what is the pricing, what does reporting look like, invoice receiving. So Morgan, you want to just maybe give us a quick high-level overview on this for us?
Absolutely. So who is this available to? This is fully integrated in real time to our PayConex gateway. So regardless of integration type, if you're leveraging our PayConex gateway for payments, this solution is available to you today. The pricing is 30 cents per ACH account validation. This is only successful updates. So this is not every time that we attempt to do an update. It's the only time that we had to do an update from MicroBilt. So we wanted to keep the cost standard to make sure it was easy to adopt for our partners and clients. The reporting, I mentioned this a little bit earlier. We tried to keep the reporting, again, seamless for reconciliation purposes. So there's customization that can happen on the filters. You can drill down into the PayConex transaction details, or you can have every transaction that was updated in a batch upload as well. The invoices are received monthly, and that does comprise all of the updates that were successfully made from the previous month. So I think, Danielle, those are the big ones. If there's any specific questions, happy to answer those as well.
Yep, absolutely. We're going to get into that. And just folks, the page where you registered for the webinar, that contains all of the product information. It also contains a form that you can enroll and start the process to get this set up in your PayConex system. And also that same page tomorrow will have this webinar recording on it and a copy of the deck. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into questions. And I'm going to open up our pane and start off with the first one from Rosemary, and this is a good question. It's really about geography. Does the Nacha rule apply to Canada as well, or is it just for the United States? And I believe it's only for the US. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, only for the US now. I believe it will likely expand, but for now, the mandate is only for the United States.
Yes. And to your point, Rosemary, because you're located in Canada, but you are sending the wire payments through the US, then yes, this would apply to you because you are using the US excuse me, transactional system. So another question that we had, what if an account was verified as valid today and then closed next month? Is the account going to pass as valid since it was previously verified? And I think this goes to the question of how often are you kind of setting your PayConex to update the validation,
Yes,
correct?
exactly, Danielle. And that is a situation that could happen, right? If you have the every 360 days option selected and you pass through a valid account this month, it could come back next month as invalid. And PayConex isn't going to be sending that off for you in that scenario because it's already been verified once. If it comes back as declined, or if it comes back as bad that next time, it will go through that other process. So that's why we wanted to provide those different options for merchants that may want to increase the frequency of the checks for their ACH payments.
Yeah, and I was going to say that is one thing. Justin Frazier on our sales team is our key point of contact that will be reaching out to you folks, anybody who comes through the form. Nicole, I saw that you said you had looked to talk to us, but you haven't gotten a call back. We'll make sure that happens. But Justin can also guide you on if you have any questions about, okay, so this is my business. These are the types of transactions I'm taking. What would you recommend me doing in terms of this validation? For which codes? How often? He can help guide you through that as well if you have any questions there. Two really good questions that just came in, and I think this is a great clarification to have from Asim and John. Does this apply to me if I only accept credit cards? Morgan, you want to kind of explain the differences between the two?
Yeah, absolutely. The answer is it does not. This is specific to ACH transactions. As you know, to the point I said earlier about ACH transactions being on the rise, we are seeing more clients that previously only accepted credit card payments begin to start offering ACH, the convenience and the demand perspective. So, but if you are not currently offering ACH today, then there is no impact. The Nacha body only governs the ACH transactions.
Yes, and the reason why, if you are not accepting ACH today, but we still invited you to the webinar, because it is a popular payment method, because more merchants are adopting it, if you were to ever consider adopting it in the future, you need to understand that these rules will apply to you. So a lot of these webinars that we're doing, you may not be using this specific product, but we do feel like it's helpful for you to just hear about what's going on in the payment processing world in case this does become an option for your business in the future. And so questions are rolling in. Morgan, real quick before we move on from that, can you talk very quickly for those accepting credit cards only, the webinar we're going to have next month on Account Updater, because I think that's going to be super relevant for people on the call too.
Absolutely, and I'm super excited about that one. So we also, as we're looking to modernize payments and just ensure that adoption, it benefits from a revenue perspective, both us and our clients. So we want to make sure that we're providing all the tools that we can to encourage that digital adoption. One of those is through our new Bluefin Account Updater solution. And this is going to be an in-house, fully integrated solution to our PayConex gateway that allows card updates for recurring payments, whether you're doing those today through batch uploads, etc. Anybody that offers recurring payments, it's going to update those in real time across all card brands. So typically, some programs are that you have to go through various processors. There's a lot of hurdles. There's hefty setup fees. Amex is often excluded. We're going to go around all of that with our new solution. It's going to capture Amex transactions as well in the update, and then fully integrate through Bluefin, all integration types as well. So we're very excited about that and the value that it can bring in automatically updating those transactions for recurring payments monthly, as that is a very popular payment method as well with the rise in e-commerce transactions.
Yes, excellent.
Yep.
So anybody who's only doing credit cards, you definitely want to keep that in mind if you're doing recurring payments for next month. Yes, Ryan, sorry about that.
Well, I was just going to tack on to what Morgan was saying, and that's all in active development at the moment, and we're going to be extending beyond just recurring transactions in the near future.
Okay.
We're working on a rollout in phases, so stay tuned for announcements and new features as that starts to come online.
Excellent. So getting back to some of the questions for this specific product, and this is a great one. When a donor makes a donation online and the account number is invalid, will the donor see that error message, or will it be admin only to see that information?
No, you'll actually, it really will depend on what is being displayed to the consumer from your software. In some cases, you'll see a straight decline. We will be including an ACH authorization message that will tell you what MicroBilt said the problem was. And in those cases, if you have a custom built page or something like that, you can display that message to your end user if you want to. So it's flexible in that way. But as of today, if you're looking at the error messages and things like that to display to your customers, they'll get an indication that it was declined. You can display that ACH verification message if you want, but it may require a little bit of work to get that displaying as you would like it. But if they have questions and you look up the transaction in PayConex, you will be able to see that on the transaction details whenever you log in.
Excellent. And Angie asks, just to clarify on the pricing, do I understand correctly that each time there is a verification of an ACH payment, there is a charge of 30 cents?
That is correct. Yes, and we will have the itemized, reporting available as well on our invoices, so you're able to reconcile and understand which updates occurred.
Yes, excellent. And just to confirm, Shauna says the verification only occurs on our end through PayConex. We won't need to wait for our clients to verify something. I think that's confirmed, correct?
Yes.
Clients are completely out of this.
It's part of the value of it too, really, because it
Right.
allows us to go right to the source of the bank account information that file to update it without relying upon interactions with the client,
Right.
being voided checks, bank statements, etc. It allows us to validate that behind the scenes, which is part of in my mind, one of the big value adds of this product.
Yes, 100%. And Dominique, is the service already active? It is. If so, when were accounts validated on PayConex? Accounts are not validated until you enroll in the system. So while we have this service available, if you have ACH, you still have to reach out to us. This is called an opt-in service. This is not an opt-out. We did not want to automatically turn this on for every PayConex user with ACH transactions. You have to contact us in order to enroll and to make sure that you are compliant with this Nacha mandate. I'm going to take 2 more questions and then I think we're going to end it. But from Julie, for the account that was verified 1 month and the account declines at some point, is there a way to flag to just validate that one account next time you try to process it?
We actually have some API level controls. If you have an integrated software where you can force a reissue transaction or any ACH transaction really, where you can force it to go through verification regardless of the rules. There's not really any mechanism for that in the user interface itself. Within PayConex, it's something that would be controlled at a higher programmatic level. But yeah, there are actually some integration options that allow you to bypass verifications in some instances or force verification in some instances. And we actually have a pretty detailed article on the developer portal that I think is linked in the handout here. Correct, Danielle?
We do. And what I'll do after this, folks, rather than waiting for the webinar to be uploaded to the website tomorrow, I'm going to email everybody who attended today so that you have a copy of this presentation. And within the presentation, and I'll make sure I include this in the email, are the links to the landing page where you can enroll and also the URL for the development portal. So you folks will all have that as a follow-up. Great. And one last question from Kayla. We have sustaining donors who occasionally use an online form to change their donation amount, and they enter their bank account information again. Will that receive another charge of 30 cents, or will it be recognized as an account that was already validated? And I think this is a great question because this goes to the broader Nacha scope of validating not only first-time web debits, but also account changes. Is that correct?
That sounds similar. So
okay.
in this scenario, there's a couple considerations that I can think of. When you have a customer coming in to say change their bank account information, if you had a stored token, an existing stored token, and that's what you were sending for the payment, that wouldn't necessarily require ACH verification. So if you were to pass that over the API, you could bypass that and be within scope with Nacha, and everything would be fine. However, if you enroll in this and you are processing a new account, they're setting up a new amount, a new account and routing number. Going forward, you would need to validate those new accounts that are getting set up.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, fabulous.
So
all right, everybody. Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just going to add on. In that case, you wouldn't want to apply the bypass flag to go around the verification service, because you would, if it's new, you would definitely want to make sure that it's verified.
Absolutely, 100%. Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you everybody for attending. These were some really great questions. Thank you, Morgan and Brian. I think this is a great new product for our clients. I love the fact that it's seamless. I love the fact that it's not to do anything with the customer having to update their own information. I think this always makes it so much easier on our clients too. So thank you both for joining us today, and thank you everybody for joining us as well. We look forward to getting you all of this information, and then hopefully you will consider coming to our webinar next month on the account updater product. Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.